If you've been a subscriber for a long time, then you'll know that in 2019, I lost my drive to create content. There were some pieces of content I was creating back then that I wasn't super proud of, and there were times where I did feel like a slave to my audience because certain videos would only get a lot of online validation and likes and shares and views when it was about certain topics or included certain people. I lost sight of myself, I lost sight of my goals, and I kept comparing myself to other content creators who were doing so much better than me, and it led me to some very real mental health battles. There was a point where I didn't feel like I had a purpose when I got out of bed, and I wasn't happy with my work when I went back to sleep. You're probably here because you're experiencing burnout in some way, shape, or form. That could be very mild burnout or it could be very severe. Whatever the case, you're welcome here. Thank you for dropping in. My name is Nate, and let me share you a few things that I've learned when it comes to dealing with burnout. One of the first and most important things to do is really diagnose the problem. When you acknowledge the problem and you acknowledge why it's there, you acknowledge the symptoms and the effects of the problem, then you'll be more equipped to deal with it. Key signs of burnout will include forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, diminished pride in your work, losing sight of yourself and your goals, difficulty maintaining relationships and being present with loved ones, frustration, irritability with coworkers, unexplained muscle tension, pain, fatigue, maybe insomnia. If you feel like you've been bending so much and now you've broken, you may be experiencing burnout, and I'm with you. The first thing I think you should do is understand that your emotions are valid. We live in an increasingly fast-paced world where, modern pop culture and self-help advice is like hustle, grind, work harder than everybody else, be the first in and the last out. And these aren't bad things. These are actually great in the appropriate situations. Our generation does get called out a lot for being lazy, but you know what I'm saying. There are really just times where we get tired. If you know that you have been truly giving your best effort and you're not just being lazy, then you have the permission to acknowledge that you're tired. It's difficult. You're only human, and it's a valid feeling. Social media likes to highlight extraordinary success, like buying a house for your parents at a young age, or earning fat checks at 25, or getting 1 million subscribers in a few months. Not that I'm jealous or anything. Good for them, really, but also social media likes to leave out the normalcies of life. Those who are living at an ordinary pace, content with what they have, not necessarily aiming low, but they are moving at their own pace. Of course, content creators curate their content. They show you all the clout without showing you the difficulties and the struggles behind the scenes. And that's normal. That's because we're human, and that's okay. But misunderstanding that fact can lead to an unfair comparison between you and others. And that's not healthy. Don't compare your stories to others' highlights. Now, your mindset. Simply put, respect yourself. Respect your body, respect the limitations of your energies, respect your physical and mental and emotional health, respect your spiritual health. Respect the fact that you need sleep, exercise, good food, and time with loved ones in order to function properly. And most importantly, respect your value. If you constantly put yourself in a position of burnout, especially to please others, then I have to say, you're worth more than you give yourself credit for. Now, where does burnout come from? Usually, it's those with a tendency to please people who take on too much. They can be afraid to let others down, so they keep saying yes with little regard for their own personal space and their mental health. Other times, you may not be people-pleasing, but you just have so much work assigned to you. If you're absolutely sure that you're not just wasting time on social media, and you can confidently say that compared to before or compared to your colleagues, you are noticing that the work is eating too much into your valuable time for sleep, for family, for your health, and it looks like it's going to stay this way for more than a month, then I think it's valid to ask your supervisor to maybe reassign the project or to help delegate the workload, or just ask for help. You'll never know what kind of help can come. If the situation is similar, but maybe you're in a circumstance wherein maybe you're self-employed, then I would recommend one of two things. One, maybe there's room to accept that being extra tired is part of being self-employed. You're trying to build a system, a machine that generates revenue sustainably, and you're doing all of that from scratch, and that's no joke, that's difficult. But if that's no help, then my second recommendation is to take a step back and think about what's really important. Now, I don't mean take a step back as in watch this video and then maybe say a prayer, think about it for a bit, write a reminder for yourself in your notes app, and then get back to life. No, I mean take a step back as in take a few days off. And as much as possible without screens. Don't spend your time idly drowning yourself in mindless content where you escape and stop thinking about what's important. Spend those days away from your laptop, and please, please, please try to spend them away from your phone. If you can, If it's safe, then try to escape from your usual place. If it's safe, try traveling to a place with a lot of nature. I swear, changing your environment is one of the best ways to get your brain to think in new ways. And now that you're in a new place with some space for yourself, actually get out a pen and paper and start writing down the things that are important to you. We're not going to talk about what to actually do in this video today, but I'm sure you get the gist of it. Even free writing without rules, without structure, without caring about your grammar, but just dumping all of your thoughts onto pen and paper is going to help drastically. Let's move on. Another great way to deal with burnout is to talk to people that you trust. Now is the time to ask your friend or someone you trust or a loved one if you can do a call with them. Video calls are way less inconvenient than going out and preparing and having coffee and buying lunch and whatever. And I'm sure that that person will be open to a genuine conversation, especially if it's to help you and especially during this difficult time in world history. It's real. The pandemic has changed things. It's changed social life. It's changed relationships. I woke up crying a few weeks ago because I dreamt of all of the people that I see on Sundays at church, you know, the titos and titas who I have small talk conversations with, and I miss them. I never thought that they'd have such a big impact in my life, but I believe that life is about relationships. People are important. Talking to people and processing thoughts and emotions with them in this era of sending memes on chat or only getting on Discord to play games together is an essential good now more than ever. And if you don't know where to start, then I would recommend a genuine, how are you? Now, let's talk about moving on from burnout. Let's say you've redefined what's most important, you've set your priorities, and you've written these things down in a notebook, a notes app, or maybe a wallpaper that you can look at when things get tough. You've actually rearranged your schedule, you've done all that you can, and you've talked to people that you love and trust. At this point, setting limits on the time that you give other people while recovering from burnout can really help manage the stress. Boundaries are a good thing. Boundaries are important. And, sometimes accepting too many commitments can really make you feel overwhelmed. So before you agree to help someone or accept an invitation, this therapist in Los Angeles recommends the following. Firstly is to push the pause button. You don't have to give a definite yes or no right away. In fact, let's make it our default to say, I'll think about it for a while. Secondly, take a moment to walk through everything that will be required of you if you agree and add to what you think will be required of you. There are commitments that have hidden costs. Yun pala, it takes more time than you thought it would, or it takes more energy than you thought it would take. Thirdly, be honest with yourself and ask yourself if you really have that time and energy. A lot of the time, we just say yes to everything, not counting the cost of how much time and energy it costs us. And not to make relationships transactional, but sometimes it takes that kind of counting the cost in order to practice healthy self-compassion. And lastly, consider whether doing it is valuable to you. There are many things that are valuable in different ways to different people. My set of values may not be the same as your set of values. So evaluate if it's valuable to you. Part of boundary setting also involves learning to say no. And I am not an expert at that, but one of the things I've learned is the but technique, which is where you put the positive statement after the but. For example, instead of saying, I would really love to, but I can't, you flip that around and you say, I can't, but I would really love to, especially next time. Remember, you're not lazy, selfish, or mean for saying no to some people. Sometimes you just have to say no to the good things so that you can give the best yes to the best things. Thanks for watching until the end of the video. If you have any further questions, you're free to tweet me, and please consider subscribing if you like content like this. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Healthline for being a major resource for this video. That's all. I'll see you in the next one, and as always, have a great day.